would like to ask you, David, about the role of the heart in all this.
Well, yes, I go into that in the book and you know, my talks as well, because the heart is this heart chakra, this heart vortex, is another massive, major, fundamental connection to higher levels of consciousness. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I feel intuition, I feel it in the heart area, that the area of that vortex, not the physical heart, though it's an expression of it, but this heart vortex in this chakra system, as they call it in the East, the wheels of light, the vortexes. And that's connected to intuition. And, you know, people who've done scientific research into this, I think there's an organization called the Heart Math Institute, or close to that. Mm-hmm. They've kind of, they're saying that actually, and I completely agree with them, that the heart has its own electromagnetic field. It has its own, if you like, consciousness. And that's right. It does. And a lot of what we're talking about here today is, in terms of intuition and mind, is this decision. Are we going to follow the heart, as we call it, intuition, or are we going to follow the head, mind? And how many times when people are trying to make a decision and they say, well, what does your heart tell you? What does your heart tell you? What does your intuition tell you? What do your higher levels of awareness tell you? And then you say, well, what does your head tell you? And what your head will tell you, because it's so massively influenced by the reptilian brain, is it will look at the survival consequences, and the consequences for you of following your heart. And you go through this mental gymnastics where you say, well, this is what my heart tells me, but what will my parents say? What will the people at work say? What will my friends say? What will the people down the bar say? And if I follow my heart, well, how am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to eat? And this is the challenge, to follow that intuition, knowing that it'll be okay, because from that level of awareness and guidance that intuition comes from, true intuition, you don't have to worry about, you know, survival, because you'll be guided to have enough to not necessarily everything you want, but enough to do what you're here to do. Enough not to go hungry and all the rest of it, if you follow that intuition, and you'll be fine. But it's having that confidence, that initial courage to say, I'm going with this, and I'm not going to let mind dominate me and tell me all the reasons why I shouldn't. 20 years ago, what happened to me was I had this awakening, and I left the BBC. I used to be a television presenter. Mm-hmm. And I had no income. I had no prospects to earn an income. I earned nothing for a long, long time. Fortunately, I've always lived well below my means, because I don't go for the big lifestyle at all. I'm not interested in it. And I had enough money in the bank from the television, not terribly much, but enough to get me through that period of time when I earned nothing. And just as I was about to run out of money, things started to happen that would allow me to pay the rent and feed my family. And I learned to trust that it will, if you follow your intuition, it ain't gonna lead you astray, and it's not gonna lead you in a situation where you've got nothing to eat and your family's starving and all the rest of it. It will find a way, because manifesting these things is a piece of cake from its level of awareness and potential. But we are on a journey of deprogramming the lower levels of mind, and the body computer level of awareness. And therefore we have to go through experiences sometimes that we'd rather not, so that we can overcome that programming. For instance, you know, if you are struggling for money and struggling for money and struggling for money, what you can do is, in the end, because of that experience, break through this fear of not having it. Break through this fear of not having enough. And what are you doing? You know, well, as we speak, what are you doing when you break through that fear? You're breaking through the domination of the reptilian brain, which is telling you constantly, oh my God, are you going to pay the rent at the end of the month? Or, oh, are you going to buy any food? And when you break through that fear, the experience is no longer necessary. And so suddenly you're not struggling anymore, because the struggle has been to put that barrier, to put that sense, that limitation, that domination of survival reaction in your face. And once you've realized it, you break through that. You're no longer, you just say, okay, I'm not going to spend my days fretting over whether I'm going to make the check at the end of the month. I'm just going to flow with my intuition, and I'm going to trust that I'll make the check. And in my experience, I can only talk about me. Well, I can talk about considerably more people that I've met around the world. My goodness, a lot, really, who've been through the same experience. But it's just having that trust. But mind will always tell you, and the reptilian brain will always tell you, a long list of reasons why you shouldn't follow your intuition. And if you don't follow your intuition, you stay in this world and of this world, and the moon matrix and the control system has you.
So what's the first step